Uh, so dear and respected friends, I would request you to kindly mute yourself so that we can avoid disruptions. Thank you so much. Let us begin the session with an invocation of a spiritual song of Lord Ganesha, dedicated to the festival of Ganesh Chaturthi. So let me share the screen. Thank you so much for your kind attention. May Lord Ganesha be always there to enlighten you with knowledge, with wisdom, to be your mentor, to be your guide, and to be your protector. Warning wishes on Ganesh Chaturthi 2021. Namaste, everyone. I, Randhir Kumar Gautam, on behalf of School of Humanities and Social Sciences of Raffles University, I welcome everyone. I also welcome you on behalf of Swadhyay Sahachakra, Circle for Creative Co-Learning, Viswanidhan Center for Asian Blossoming, and Rage Global Foundation, USA. It's a great pleasure and indeed an honor to have available with us distinguished speaker, Dr. Sambhu Chhetri, visiting professor, Erakhi Center of Excellence for the Science of Happiness from IIT Kharagpur. We welcome you, sir. We welcome Professor Anand Kumar Giri, our guide and a professor from Madras Institute of Development Studies, Chennai. We welcome Maniti Pradhan, a creative thinker and a poet from Odisha, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Raffles University, Professor Divakar Bohli, Deepika Behan from Rage Global Foundation. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our Chief Patron, Honorable Justice Dr. Meena B. Bombar, former Chief Justice of Rajasthan High Court, and all the respected participants, Swadhyay Sahachakra family, viewers, and listeners. Let me give a brief introduction to our Swadhyay Sahachakra. Swadhyay Sahachakra is an initiative of studying and learning together self, culture, societies, and the world. Friends associated with this are eager to walk and mediate with new horizons of thinking and new movements of social and cultural change at work in our contemporary world. We study seekers such as Maharshi Aurobindo, Chittaranjan Das, a creative thinker from Odisha, Mahatma Gandhi, and many others from around the world. We also present our own writings and reflect our creativity together. We also invite seekers from different fields of life to share with us their lives, their sadhana, struggle for creating a world of beauty, dignity, and dialogue. We meet every Sunday or sometimes on Wednesday. Now we are nurturing this dialogue in collaboration with the School of Humanities and Social Science and Raffles University and Rage Global Foundation, USA. Today is a very special topic to discuss, that is happiness, well-being, and Ananda. Aristotle once said, happiness is the meaning and purpose of life, the whole aim and end of human existence is happiness. Nowadays, lots of people talk about positive psychology across the discipline. Even happiness index considered to be the one of the hallmark of the measurement of development. So this topic, it triggers our fascination and curiosity to know about the topic like well-being, health, and happiness. Happiness is all that matters for well-being. How to create a life of happiness is one of the significant questions that we try to find a proper answer. Dalai Lama once said that as human beings, we all want to be happy and free from misery. With this brief introduction, now I would like to invite Professor Anand Kumar Giri sir to kindly share his presentation. Sir, over to you.
Thank you so much, dear Andy. I had a word with Professor Chetri. So Professor Chetri would kindly go first, then I would come. And I would also like to share, dear and respected friends, today, Professor Chetri would take up to 40 minutes. Then I would make a presentation. I would try to. And then Minati, and maybe after we make two presentations, let us have discussion for 10 minutes. And then after that, we will have Minati and your presentation and discussion for 10 minutes. You know, beginning with a rhythm like this. So now we invite Professor Chetri, please.
Thank you.
You make him co-host so that he can share his screen.
Yes, I have already.
Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So I begin with a very challenging question here. Is happiness really difficult to chase? With this thought, let's continue our journey today. As we continue our journey, I would request all of you to listen to your breathing in and out. Just flow with the breath in and out, and keep your ears to what I'm saying. Thank you. So what is happiness? Now, if you look into the concept of happiness, we had great thinkers since the humanities understood that we need to be happy. Thinkers like Plato, Aristotle, Confucius, they all talked about being in process. And if you see, Tao itself means path, the way. So if you look deeply into the concept of what they tried to talk about happiness, they would talk about virtues, our actions, our activities. Everything was in the process, in terms of process. So if our process was wrong, the outcome is going to be wrong. And that's how it will lead us either to feel unhappy or happy. Thinkers like, Mahatma Gandhi said that if what we think, what we say, and what we act, or our actions, if they all synchronize together, then we will be happy. Dalai Lama said, happiness is not ready-made. It comes with your action. Great way of putting things together. And if you think about Buddha said, the way to happiness is the way. What does that mean? That means that happiness is all within us. It's not outside of us. All right, so is happiness a choice? And definitely, having read many books on happiness, I would say yes, happiness is a choice. I need to get this sliders out. Sorry, yes, thank you. So happiness is a choice. That's what we all talk about, because happiness is within and it's not outside. So is happiness collective? Definitely happiness is collective, because you cannot be happy in a space where there's so much of unhappiness. And we know from the quantum physics that unhappiness has a lot of negativity. When a person is unhappy, he or she is living with hedonic movements, and to achieve something, she or he is struggling. And all that to achieve, all the struggles actually do not make us happy. And if there are people unhappy around us, we will also imbibe the mirror neurons. We also imbibe unhappiness for ourselves. Can money buy happiness? Definitely no. There's a lot of studies on this. Money cannot buy happiness. but money is required to a certain extent. Are rich people happier than poor? No, not at all, because rich people tend to struggle for more and more so that they can continue to live at that space. And poor people are content, they're happy with what they have, and they try to get more. Of course, it doesn't mean that they're happy forever in life, but they tend to be content with the acceptance, the word acceptance. They accept what we have. We don't have more, so why struggle to live a happier life? And I'll talk more about our connection with nature. When you are a poor guy in the farm, you know, you are much happier than the rich guy in the town. The reasons I'll talk later. Happiness is a state of mind, we all know. It's an inner quality and being at peace. Now, with all the kind of reading I had, this is the definition I came about. There's no one definition for happiness. And I think we cannot have one definition for happiness, definitely. Happiness is not the fleeting, momentary, feel-good moods, which we often associate ourselves for happiness. It is a balance between spiritual needs and the material needs for the mind and the body. And it has to be in a very secure and sustained environment. What is enough for us should as well be enough for centuries after us, for our generations to come. So with this introduction, let me continue my journey. What's happening? It's not shifting. Okay. All right. So, you know, this is Einstein. What did Einstein have to say on happiness? Of course, this was a note that he wrote for a bellboy in the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo. He didn't have money. So he wrote this note for him, which was sold, by the way, for 1.6 million, you know, maybe few years ago. And it was bought by an Israeli. So it's in the museum in Israel. All right. So let's get it translated. What does it really mean? It means a calm and humble life will bring more happiness than the pursuit of success and the constant restlessness that comes with it. Beautiful. So if we accept our life in a very humble way, and you know, we will definitely bring happiness, because we are not pursuing success. What are we pursuing? We are pursuing satisfaction. Because if you pursue success, you will be constantly restless, because you need to achieve many things down the line. And for that matter, we need to work here and now. We can't live yesterday or tomorrow. The only day we have is today. So do we work? Do we create the process today rightly is the big question for all of us. So, so let me just embark into, oh God, it's not, so what determines happiness? There are a lot of people joining and going, so I'm getting my screen a little disturbed. Never mind. So bear with me, please. So what determines happiness? So if you look into Sonia Limbersky, she said, this is from the research, the genetic research that she did, that she said that 50% is determined by our genes, the genetics that we are born with. She said 40% is from our circumstances, and 10% is determined by our internal state of mind. Now, let's for the sake of debate or discussion, let's think about Abhimanyu in Mahabharata. You know, he could break the Chakravyuh or the fortification in the war field up to 7 fortifications, and then he was killed. Where did he learn this? And the story tells us that when his father was narrating the story to his mother, he was in the womb, and he listened that in the womb. And we know that Arya Anand B. Babu from South India, from Kerala, she was in Little Champs, I think in 2020, and she could sing so beautifully all songs of our singing Nightingale of India, Sri Lata Mangeshkar, Srimati Lata Mangeshkar ji. So beautifully, but if she had to talk a verse on Hindi or speak Hindi, she wouldn't speak anything on Hindi. So where did she learn? This was also proven by a doctor who came along with her to say that her mother is an avid listener of the songs of Lata Mangeshkar ji, when the child was in the womb. From then on, she's been very much listening all through. So the child learned right from her young days. Now, if you listen to the Bruce H. Lipton, another great Dr. Bruce, great man, a genetic scientist, he's done research over 25 years to say that all our genes are blueprints. We can change them the way we want, simply because from birth to 7 years is the time where the child hypnotically takes all the information in, whether she's asking, he's asking, or sensing, or seeing, or doing anything. They just kind of record everything. And where does this get recorded? In the subconscious, in sense. It's like learning cycling. You know, in the beginning you fall and you don't know when to steer, when to paddle, but after a while you just know how to cycle. You don't have to think about how do I steer anymore, or for that matter, the car, or writing our names. We don't have to think A, B, C, D, go to S to find S where the S remains, because it's already rewritten in the subconscious. That's what he says. And he says that in the teen, you continue to evolve more, and you continue to rewrite your subconscious. And everything that memories are stored in the subconscious, which helps us. Like when you're driving a car, we're thinking something else, but we know where we want to go, and we very naturally steer our way through. You see? So this is written in the subconscious, he said. All right, let's continue. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world is one family. Now I'm coming to just tell you something about understanding a deeper self. Who are we really? So that we know how can we translate ourselves and for others to be a happier human being. You know, one half seed of father, half seed of mother, they join together in the womb of the mother to form a diploid, haploid into a diploid, or we call it zygote in biology. It is 0.005 inch, barely visible to our naked eyes. That has all the code, where the nose should be, where the eyes should be, where the ears and the heart and rest of the elements in the body should be. You know, that one cell has all the codes. But what makes that one cell grow into a baby and be born? It is the food that we eat. So the term Bhagavan, I'm going to translate that. Bha stands for Bhumi. And in Vedantas, they say a human body constitutes 12% of Bha, Bhumi, food. Okay, we are made of a food. Bhaga, Gagan, the sky. Sky is, they don't proportion anything of the body in for sky, but they say all the 5 senses are from outside of the planet Earth, the sky, right? Bhagavan, Bhagavan. There is a in between ga and wa, but we don't write that. Agni. Now, if you listen to Bruce Lipton, he says that an average human cell between a young child to a grown-up, full grown-up man, the total cells that we constitute, average total cell that we constitute is 37.2 trillion. Okay, 30.7.2 trillion cells, average. Maybe a Punjabi in North India would have 70 trillion cells. Maybe I have less. Maybe someone, in the Eastern Hemisphere, lower, they are smaller in body. They might have much less, and child has much less. So an average is 37.2 trillion cells. Now, what he says is that every cell has equal so much energy. When if that was translated into voltage, it would have 1.4 volt per cell. Now multiply that with 37.2 trillion cell, we get 52 plus trillion cell of voltage equivalent energy in one human being, okay, average human being. Now you can imagine, that's why when you close our eyes and think any space, we are faster, our mind goes faster than the light. You know, you can actually concentrate on somebody, like sitting down. You can think of a sick person or someone in your family, when you imagine that person and start talking to that person, don't be surprised that you might get a call in the next moment, because you're connecting. So much is power with us, okay? Now, if 37.2 trillion cells need oxygen, the air that we breathe, Vayu, Bhagavan, Vayu. Even if that one cell required pin tip of oxygen, imagine 37.2 trillion pin tips would be how much? So they say, Vedanta says that 8% of our body form constitutes of energy, 8 form constitutes of air or wind or oxygen for that matter. And it says on an average, 72% is near water. So Bhagavan translates into these 5 elements of planet Earth. So you can now imagine if we are all human beings are built from these 5 planets of, 5 elements of planet, why are we so different from one to another? I have no answer to that, but let me continue my discussion. We are so egoist, we think nature is out there to serve us. We don't feel we are a part of nature. So we are egocentric all the time. We think, animals are for meat, a forest is for our wood, for our table, for chairs and destruction and things like that. We've been doing this, for a long, long time. And this is the problem that we have created. This is the problem that we have created, not understanding that we are the part of them. So our government, any government for that matter, functions with GDP or GNP or GNI, whatever you give the name, gross national product. That's based on destruction of nature. The more you destroy society, in terms of alcohol, I think there are 15,000 crore alcohol sold every month in India. Multiply with a year how much million, crores of money, and that's all added to GDP. If there is brothel somewhere, the income from brothel is added to GDP. Destruction in a city, like when the NCC was announced, there was a huge riot in Delhi and 1.2 billion worth of property was destroyed. That now to rebuild will add to GDP. So everything, whether we destroy a society or pump too much oil into our factories, industries, or in our transport system, we spewing carbon so much into the atmosphere. And we all know that carbon spewing has direct relation with increase of the temperature on the planet Earth, and we are bringing a catastrophe in our climate change. Now, if we remain ecocentric, which means I accept I'm a part of the nature, I'm in nature, in other words. And truly, if now let me tell you that fish, whether it's banana, 70% of banana genes are in us, 88% of dog and cow genes are in us, 91% of frog genes are in us. That's why we constitute more water in our body form than the other elements of the body. And I think we were born out of water, because much more relation in terms of genesis is with the water. All right. So even quarter of rice genes are in us. You can name a fruit fly gene. That little creature, 46% of its genes are in us. So how can we consider that we are separate from them? No, we cannot. Now, of course, the evolution theory of Christians, it's Adam and Eve. In Islam, they said a pair of very good people and a pair of bad people. We are children from them. And if you here try to decode out of Hinduism and Buddhism, they say it was evolution of the nature or the universe, right? So no one has found out how we have been born, okay? But the truth is that we all connected. And when we are in nature, when you are with plants, with animals, our energy field increases and we tend to become happier naturally. This is an Indian scientist who just went around a bull 5 times, and his energy increased 6 times more than what he had. So his energy was felt at 19 meters. And when he went 5 times around the bull, his energy increased to 123 meters, 6 times more. So you see, that's why we become happier. And we can go into history of humankind, and we know that when there was a huge volcano eruption on planet, in Indonesia, the whole planet was ash covered. And during that time, they say the total number of people that lived were 1,200. Today, we are 7.6 billion people on this planet Earth. We are from this very amount of people. All right. So if we live in an eco-centric way, I call that as the gross national happiness. Then we have, beautiful planet for us, and as well as for our children and their children and the generations after us. So this is the one of the pages that I just drew from New Development Paradigm, which was submitted to UN General Assembly. Final draft was submitted in February 2016 for post-millennium development goals. It was for the sustainable development goals. So here we have a concept that the basic, and we must function within the planetary boundaries. We cannot go outside our planetary boundary. The moment we try to go out of our planetary boundary, we bring sufferance to our planet Earth, 100%. I was in contact with young people all over the world. So I had some YPOs from US. So I was talking about how could we do better on this planet Earth so that we can leave some, same thing that we're enjoying today for our generations to come. And he said, why are you bothered about this? We will excavate Moon, Mars, will get all the minerals from there when it's finished on Earth. Let's destroy and continue our journey. That was the kind of perception he carried or they carried. So it's sad, before you really change what is happening or try to help what's happening in your own homes, you are thinking of plundering others' homes. All right. Anyway, so the concept that the GNH has, that we submitted to UN, is that there is a basic need, and these needs cannot be compromised. These needs, in whatever environment or spaces we live, this is required. And these are food. And we need to have adequate satisfaction of a life. So shelter is required, security is required, respect is required. And we need to realize that it is dependent. These kind of things are dependent only when the environment is sustainable. But if the environment is destroyed, what do you get out of it? Nothing. In a marubhumi, we can't get anything. In a famine-stricken area where there's no rain, we can't get anything. So the environment has to sustain. Now, under this environment, we say that every government should prepare a holistic development approach with these 4 areas. Environment conservation, very important, because environment is a part of us. Okay, environment is very much a part of us. So we have to consider this. Sustainable, equitable, socio-economic development, second one. Third one is preservation and promotion of culture. And the fourth one is good governance. If the agenda of the government is based on these 4 areas, then it enables us to use our resources properly, very responsibly, resources like natural, social, human, economic, and so forth, for a sustainable future. When we do this, the outcomes are stunning. The outcome that will happen will be this, which we call the 9 domains of happiness. Okay, with these 9 domains, it has been proved scientifically, it has been known in human history for a long time through experience and wisdom of great people that we can practice, we can cultivate happiness for ourselves. And then, of course, we get into the tune of becoming a society of happiness. All right. So here is, sorry for running quickly, but I don't have much time. So here is the 4 pillars. The one that I told you, the development, is this one that we call the 4 pillars of gross national happiness: sustainable and equitable socio-economic development, environment preservation, good governance, promotion and preservation of culture. Now you'll realize that these 4 pillars have their own domains. Sustainable and equitable socio-economic has 4 domains. These are living standard, number 1. Number 2 is education. Number 3 is health. Where is health? Health. So these are the 3 areas for number 1. For environment, it is by itself a domain. Ecological diversity here, by itself, is a domain. Promotion of culture and promotion and preservation of culture, we have 4 domains. Time use, 1. Cultural diversity, 2. Community vitality, 3. and one more, psychological well-being. These come under promotion and preservation of culture. So good governance is by itself here. So if you see two important ones, the ecological diversity resilience, which corresponds with environment preservation, good governance by good governance. They are so important, because without good governance, it's linking, all linking through all the processes here, all the domains here. Now you see, these are 9 domains, and each domain have their indicators. So for example, psychological well-being has life satisfaction, positive and negative emotions, and spirituality, 4 domains. And likewise, time use has 3, but the third one is not spelled out: work, sleep, and of course your home chores and other things. Okay. Just to give you an example, a quick example of how time was used, a study done by US, they found out that 28.5 years of their life, they are sleeping only. 10 years of their life, they are earning only. It could be more in India, and less sleep, more work here. 9 years of their life, they're busy behind social media. Another 9 years of life, they're busy with home chores and other things, eating, drinking, and all that. No, eating, drinking, another 4 years they have added. 6 years of their lifespan, they spend only in educating and self-grooming. They spend 2 years in shopping of their lifetime, which is of an average of 78 years, and 2 years they are commuting. Then they only spend 1.5 years for looking after or for rearing children. And the total, they are reaching almost 69 years of their total 78 years. By then, their total life left is 9 years. By then, they are old. They have struggled so hard to earn this money. Now, what they want is to live well and satisfied for the last part of 9 years, and they begin to struggle and spend all their savings running behind doctor, having medication and all that. My dear friends out there, it's not necessary to do that. I'm 65 years old, and I feel myself very healthy. Touch wood, I don't depend on any medication. It's all to do with how we eat, how we sustain ourselves, how we understand our own being. So I wish I could speak on each one of them, but I don't have time. So let me continue. And we can, relate with India as well, with 72 years of life expectancy in India. Okay. So what is the way to happiness? Like Buddha said, the way to happiness is the way. But what is the seed of happiness? Let's try to look into this a little bit. Okay. Mindfulness. The seed of happiness is mindfulness. Now let us see, what does mindfulness mean? Mindfulness is not to live in the forgetfulness, not to live in the past. Forgetfulness stands for living in the past or in the future. If you live in the past, we use large part of our mind, 47% of our mind, we are using for either to be in the past or to be in the future. Research tells us. So mindfulness is not meditation. There is a difference between mindfulness and meditation. But if you're mindful, you are always meditating. That's the beauty of mindfulness. And what does mindfulness mean? Mindfulness means it is to be present. Present doesn't mean we can hear to be here and now, present here and now. No, it simply means to be completely aware of your present self. Where are you? How are you breathing? What are you doing? Even if you're washing pot or pan, your mind should be floating there. And of course, women have 30% more connectivity between the cognitive and the emotional brain, left and the right brain. And they can multitask. But what I'm trying to say is that even in that multitasking, if they're in all of that, fully in those, they are mindful. So being mindful is to be completely aware of your presence and not think you're walking through somewhere, but your mind is elsewhere. But if you're enjoying the walk, every step you're feeling that you're pushing on the ground, you're seeing things as you move along, that is mindfulness. Okay. Mindfulness increases our conscious mind. Remember, I talked about what Dr. Bruce Lipton talked about, that we have, so much information in our subconscious, and they are good and bad. Now, to eliminate the bad, we need to rewrite. And to rewrite, we need to find verses, beautiful chanting mantras, or some kind of prayers, or some kind of, practices, just to overcome, rewrite our consciousness. The more we rewrite our consciousness and be totally present in what we are doing consciously, we are increasing our conscious mind. And somewhere they say that if your conscious mind can be increased to 16% or 20%, you can become anything at that point of time, you see. So the total amount of our conscious mind that we use, they say, science says, is 5%. Mindfulness is not about calming the mind. There's a misunderstanding. There's $1 billion industry in the West on mindfulness, and they will tell you, be aware of your breathing in and breathing out. Now, when they say aware, they're saying, make your mind the subject and your breath the object, and be aware, be conscious how the breath is entering. What are the feelings that it's bringing to your body? Your stomach is rising, your chest is expanding as you breathe on, out, or exhale from the nose. You feel the air leaving, your stomach falling, your chest reducing. See, this feeling you need to be aware of. It will always make us glorious. Once our mind is free, that means mind free. We say control your mind. It's wrong. We need to free our mind. Simply it means that when you don't live in the past or in the future, then you are free. Okay. When you control your mind, you are there with so many other things. So you're not free. Right? So mindfulness helps us to do right kritya, right karma. So, it's between our conscious and unconscious mind. Whatever we do, sometimes somebody says something and we get angry and we react immediately. But there is a space between that two. And that's your right kritya. There's the pause. If you can realize that pause and say, okay, hold on before I say something, you will always make yourself a greater human being on the planet Earth. And with this practice, mindfulness, actually, we will understand so much, because we'll awaken our awareness that we will begin to live in interdependence. And then what happens is the enlightenment is not far away. All right, so we live in ignorance. We need to eliminate our ignorance. And some of the practices that can eliminate our ignorance, I'll not go into depth because no time. Wisdom. How does wisdom come to us? It's with the right understanding of things and right thoughts in your mind. With those, you can achieve, you can inculcate, you can cultivate wisdom. Okay, I'll not explain that. Second one is morality. What is morality? It has three components again. Morality has samyak vachan, meaning right speech. When you speak well, definitely you're creating a better environment wherever you are. Okay? So deep listening and loving speech is so very important. Action, karma. What actions are you doing? How does it help you and others? You have to consider others as well. If it only helps you and doesn't help others, then there is something wrong in the karma. It needs to be with you. But it doesn't mean that you give your life for others. That's not karma too. You need to take care that whatever you do should not harm you and should not harm others. Ajivika, which means right livelihood. All animals want to live, but we eat them. They fear death like we do, but they can't speak. And the more we eat meat, there's heavier growth of meat industry. The more we have dairy products, the more is the dairy industry. And the more packed food we eat, the more is the factory producing. So right livelihood, meaning that by participating in that, we are destroying our planet Earth in many ways. I wish I had more time to explain you how, but look at the connection, just one connection. Like buying clothes. I have money, anywhere I go, I buy. And what do? I have closet full of clothes. Hardly I use any one. The more I buy, the more factory will produce. The more factory produce, they will pressurize the cotton growers to grow more. You can also link this way for meat and dairy industry. And what happens? The cotton growing, 80% of the cotton is chemically or genetically modified cotton. That requires much more input of chemical fertilizers to grow them. Now, when that happens, chemical fertilizers to grow them, when that happens, of course, definitely you're killing the soil. When the soil is dead, it doesn't have the water retention power. And then the groundwater is reducing in a very fast speed today. So, whatever we do has direct implication to our planet Earth, because we are not here. We can't do anything for the nature, but nature does everything for us. We cannot live without them, but they can live without us. That is the difference. So we need to be very mindful about what we are eating. All right. The last one is practice, I call, or habit, or concentration. What does this concentration lead us to? One is samyak vam, right efforts. We need to bring right efforts. What is that right effort? So if you have right intention and right efforts, you will always do right in life. Okay? Smriti, mindfulness. We need to be mindful. I'll talk a little more on this. Samadhi, concentration, meditation. So these are the practices for us to be concentrated, to bring concentration, or to make it as a habit for a better life and living. So samyak smriti, or right mindfulness, what does it have? There are 5 steps to it. Step number 1 is mindful breathing. All you do is listen to your breathing. Of course, when you're listening to your breathing, it's like in the early times when you're learning how to cycle, you fall, you again try, you fall, and after a while you get it. And now you just climb on it and go to the destination you want, singing a song or talking to a friend or singing around. You don't have to think, how do I steer and all that. Mindfulness, exactly, breathing has the same problem. In the beginning, it takes you, your mind begins to wander and float away. But you gently invite the mind to come back to breathing in. Be aware of breath. How is the breath entering? What are the feelings that are arising in your body? And when you breathe out, the same thing, be aware of your breath out, but your mind should be, together with the breath, and you should be aware of how your body is, feeling as you're breathing out. Once you have this practice for about 5 minutes, when you can constantly concentrate without floating away, then you can start to put verses that you'd like to see the world, or the people would see you the way you want them to see. For example, breathing in, you can put the mind, I'm very calm. Breathing out, I put a smile on my face. So breathe in, calm mind, calm, you put the word calm. And you know what it translates to? The mind, I'm calm. Breathing out, I smile. Now, when you practice this for many, many hours together, over time, everyone will see you as very calm and smiling all the time. This is the beauty of mindful breathing. All right, then the focus, or our concentration, or the West calls it attending with attention. How do you get that? To get that, you can do visualization, you can do gazing, you can do sound, you can do music, you can do laughter, you can do mantras, chanting, you can do prayers. But remember, if you don't know what the meaning of the chanting is, the effect that you get is way less than the meaning of it. Okay? So you need to know the meaning of it. Whatever you're chanting, it should be very much known to you. If it is not known to you, then the effect is less. Same with prayers. If you like a mantra very much, but you don't know the meaning of it, try to give a meaning the way that you want to see the world. Okay, it's okay. This, everybody, all the great people on planet Earth, whoever found these mantras, have given meaning to it. Okay? So you can create your own mantra and give a meaning, a beautiful meaning, and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, and you become that. Like a young child, a destitute child is brainwashed by saying something, and it's all written in the subconscious. So the child just ties a bomb around, goes and knows that I have to kill as many as to get into heaven or somewhere to meet my parents or enjoy my life. That's what he or she believes, and they just go and blast themselves. See, this is all to do how you can rewrite your subconscious, that you will believe always. Okay, many ways to do it. I wish I could take you through some practice, but like I said, no time. Awareness of body. Every time you are in an office or somewhere, try to be aware of your body. When you sit on the chair, feel how your bottom is sitting, how your legs are grounding, how your toes are, how are you feeling with your, soles of your feet, your calf muscles, your knees. Ask every part of the body to calm and relax. Okay, just say calm and relax. And if you can give attribute to them, like saying, "Oh, great soul, you have been standing for me since the time I began to walk on you. Thank you so much for being there for me. Please relax. Please be comfortable." That way you can talk to your body up to the head. This is awareness of the body. For those of you who have insomnia, on the bed, what you can do is you can lie down and start, wriggling your toes and start talking the toes, attributing. And after you finish attributing, say, "Be calm and peaceful," or "Be calm and relaxed." And the next word you bring out is, "My eyes are getting heavier, I'm falling asleep." Come to the sole, come to the ankle, come to the heels, come to your calf muscle, to knee, and that way. But to everyone, you try to give, an attribute and say thank you, and ask that part to be calm and relaxed. Okay. And then the last word you use is, "My eyes are getting heavier, I'm falling asleep." I promise you, the quality of your sleep when you get into sleep will be wonderful. You'll come awake the following morning with great amount of energy within you. Okay, so many ways to do this awareness of body. Releasing tension. Sometimes we get stuck in a traffic and we get very jittery and angry, but there's a very simple way. Take a deep breath and say, "Thank you, universe, for giving me this opportunity for me to connect myself with my body." Don't fetter. "Oh, if I was 1 second early, I could have crossed this traffic." No point. The universe has given you a chance to connect with yourself. Or if you're in high tension, just take a deep breath in hard, 3 times. You have a calming effect immediately. If you're angry suddenly and you're not able to control, do the same. But be aware and try to control your anger, because what comes out of your anger will never be, forgiven by anybody. Sometimes it can be very bad for ourselves because it goes as a bullet out of us. Releasing tension. Also, if you're getting into some interview or something, take some deep breaths. When you go in, just relax, close your eyes, take deep breath in. You'll feel very relaxed. This is mindful walking. Mindful walking, what you do is you kind of, when you walk, feel the step and try to be aware of what you pass by without judgment. Don't judge. You see a beautiful flower, enjoy it as a beautiful flower. Don't say how beautiful that flower is. If I could pick it up, no. Or how does it smell? Don't start to take your mind away. Just be there as you walk with awareness and as you see. There's a beautiful, oriental way of stress management. It's Japanese, they've been doing for centuries. If you worry too much, this thumb, you hold it for 2 minutes with much pressure on the tip, 2 minutes. If you fear, hold this finger. If you are angry, hold this finger. 2 minutes, but put pressure on the tip. If you are sad, hold this finger. And if you're lonely, hold this finger. Okay, for 2 minutes each. One of the emotions. But if you have multiple emotions, anxiety is a multiple emotion, then what you do is press in the center of your palm with other thumb and just recite there for 2 minutes. All the tips of these fingers are connected to the brain. And that is why you get a calming effect, because you're sensing now, sending the senses to the brain. Please try. I don't know if it works, but please try. Now, here is the mantra. This is the last slide, a quick one that will be over, I suppose. Karma will never spare us. What we do will come back to us. It's cause and effect. You know, this is right. All right, you see the picture of karma. Okay, nice way presented. My mantra, this is my mantra. But please go with this, and I promise you will all be happy. Be present in every moment and conduct yourself with loving speech. Don't try to compare yourself or compete with somebody. Compete with yourself. See what you did yesterday. How can you do it today better? Put a resolve. Do little meditation when you get up in the morning. You know, forgive yourself and others. If you don't, you will always remain, you know, with something covering your 47% of your brain is all something that is not useful. So part of this is when you have done something wrong onto others, you might feel guilty. When someone has done something wrong to you, you might want to revenge, and you're preparing for all that. You see how much energy and resource you'll be using. So learn to forgive. And the moment you forgive, you'll calm down. And this message of forgiveness will also reach to the person. I tell you, I promise you. See positive in everyone. Our human character is we see negative in everybody. But everybody has a positive side. And if you can cultivate that positive side, you'll make that person a better human being. Have right intentions and right efforts, and forget about what comes. If you had right intentions and right efforts and that thing didn't come, don't worry. Universe has something else in plan for you. Okay, just accept it and let it go. Like acceptance is already very high, and after that is, you know, love. When you start to vibrate, your energy starts to vibrate. If at 500 hertz in frequency per second, you are naturally, as the quantum physics says, you're all naturally in love, which means that everything you love, any human being that you cross, you'll be in love. Okay? And if you cross love, 540 hertz, you are already in joy, complete joy. When you are in 600, you are in peace. And when you cross 700, you are enlightened. See, this is what Michio Kaku, the father of the string theory, talks about. He says, if we know the vibration of dinosaurs and can't vibrate, because we have so much energy, we vibrate at the same level like them, we'll feel and see them around us. That's what he said. Okay. So we have to learn to live in harmony with the nature and serve others. Very important. And be grateful all the time, because anything we use, everything around us, if we are not grateful, we will never be a better human being in life. Send loving kindness to self and others. You can close your eyes and bring a person, say, be well, be happy, may you be successful. Even person who is jealous of you, who is angry of you, just think of that person and send happiness. You will change that person, because that person will feel. And as I explained to you, we carry so much energy, so much energy with us, it will reach to them. Keep mission statement, self-affirmation. When you see in the mirror, what do you see yourself? You see your beautiful face? No. Try to reaffirm that person you see in the mirror. Say you are a unique person, you're a beautiful human being. You will be very, satisfied in life. You will be always helping others. You will leave better footprints on this planet Earth. You will be able to vibrate with the universe in their frequency. Affirm to that person that you see in the mirror, not what you see, how good you look. Don't be fooled in your self-image. Don't try to get validation from others, how I look today. Be yourself. Be yourself. I promise you, you will find life much more beautiful. Try to balance your life with a time of 8 hours to sleep, 8 hours to work, and 8 hours for home chores, eating, drinking, listening to uplifting music for 10, 20 minutes, reading inspirational books for 10, 20, half an hour, 30 minutes of sweating exercise, quality time with family, that's another 8 hours. So if you can balance your life in this 8, 8, 8, I promise you, you will always create a happier self. Create habits from waking up to the sleeping time. Like I said, when you wake up, the first thing you should do is push yourself against the bedpost. Think what you did yesterday, and think what will you do today and how will you do it better than yesterday, and put a resolve. Today, I'll be calm and peaceful. So if you put a resolve every day like this, what happens after a while? Anything senses, you have that space to think, no, I shouldn't get angry. I should not be frustrated. I should accept it. Then only I can take the next step. So, and then you put, then you sit down and do a meditation, mindful meditation of a few minutes, 3 minutes to 6 minutes. Then lie down on the bed, stretch fully, do a cyclic kick as many times as you do. When you touch the ground, say, thank you, Mother Earth, for giving me the opportunity to walk on it today. Today when you wake up, there are millions who will never wake up in their lives. So we need to be grateful. And after that, probably you'll head towards the bathroom. You see yourself in the mirror, put an affirmation, put your list of affirmation there and read it out to that person that you see in the mirror. All right. With this, I'll end my presentation. And please remember that we need to do 30 minutes of sweating exercise. You need to have nourishing food. Don't eat meat and dairy products. They are both cancerous and diabetic. It has been proven by scientists all over the world. You can Google and read for yourself. And sleep 8 hours, very important. Because if you sleep well 8 hours, the tip of the telomere, it's Blackburn, Dr. Blackburn, who did 30 years of study to prove that the tip of the telomeres get cancerous if you sleep less than 6 hours. And 6 hours is not adequate also. But sometimes it's all right. But try to sleep more than 7 hours. Or if you have deep sleep, between 6 and 7 hours is good. But 8 hours is a must. And they get cancerous. And what happens is you begin to slow down. You begin to age faster and you also pass away faster. But if you meditate and remain mindful, my friends, this is what she has proven, that your telomeres will become longer. You live longer and you'll be happier through your life. So I believe every day is beautiful, even though we know our last destination, the final ultimate destination. Take it every moment, take it slowly, being fully present in what you do. With this, I'll end my presentation, but let me wish you Tashi Dilek. In Bhutan, it means may all the auspiciousness come to you. And I send you my loving kindness. May you be all well and happy. May you find happiness in what you do. May you bring happiness to the lives that you touch. May you be the light for yourself, your family, your friends, your community, your country, and the world. Please give me a second. Let me sing this happiness song for you. And this song is not for the body, it's for the mind. I adapted from a longer version of Master Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a great Zen Buddhist master. So let me just sing this, and with this I'll end. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, and I'm not in a hurry. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. Somewhere to go, something to do, but I'm not in a hurry. Thank you so much. Thank you. All my blessings to you. Thank you. Sorry for taking a longer time. Thank you.
Tashi Dilek, Professor Chetri, I am not in a hurry. So it is in that spirit. I invite Minati now to make her presentation. I will come a little later. Minati.
Hello. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. If I cannot, you have to help me out. So, hello and good evening, everyone. So, hello, Professor Chetri. Hello, Ananda Bhai, Randhir, and everyone present here. I am not a very expert in happiness or so. So, few things only I have gathered from my experience and how I practice it in my day-to-day life. So those things only I'm going to share. I'm not able to share my screen. Just a minute. Is it visible there?
No, it is not visible. If you are facing problem, then I can share on your
Yeah,
video.
please, please.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
now I think, yeah. So I have kept the title of my presentation is understanding happiness and well-being. Actually, it is the basic level of understanding these things little more nowadays. So can we go to next slide?
Yes.
I cannot see that.
If you can kindly make the screen full, would be wonderful.
Yeah, this is. So, as we all say, I mean, and that is a famous quote, like happiness is a conscious choice, not an automatic response. Actually, to be happy, we have to, I mean, consciously choose. I mean, one must be mindful and self-aware. So I read one article before few days. Actually, mindfulness can improve the cognition in children, in elderly people, in all the human beings. So I just added that one in my presentation. That is actually mindfulness-based programs are being used to improve the mental health and well-being. So findings suggest it has small but very significant benefit to the cognition. That is that Professor Tim Whitefield. So, so studies prove that definition, there is a definite correlation between the happiness and the active lifestyle and in the self-image and the emotional and heart health. No, he is there. And we will have, as Professor Chetri explained all these things. I feel very, I mean, there is nothing more to explain. I can only explain my personal experiences. I mean, that, and the third slide I have put that. So that one. So then it gives us the good health and that faster recovery. In this faster recovery, this point I can say, this I have experienced in my own life. And how it, that positivity and that mindfulness that has helped us to come out of a traumatic situation. And that, as everybody knows, that is longevity and improve the quality of life can happen with happiness. And the fourth point is higher positivity and improved productivity. And we know in this corporate culture now, everybody is adopting that happiness color and happiness environment to their offices to just to increase the productivity and to means keep the all the employees in their mental health, emotional health. They should remain healthy. So they are adopting all these happiness for productivity. Then success in business and career. As we all know, it is very obvious, if you will be happy, you will be more productive and you will be very successful in your business and career. And the fourth, at the last point, is better relationship with people and ourselves. If once somebody is happy, you can have a happier relationship with your family, with your friends, with your colleagues, with everyone around. So that is very much important. As the relationship are the base of any social life or personal life. So that that can be a very important point. Can we go to the next slide? This, yeah. And in my small way, actually I've written how to achieve happiness. The first thing I feel that achieving happiness is we should stop racing. Once we start racing, no, we forget our own journey. Our aim becomes only to how we will come first, not that enjoying our own journey. We just concentrate at the destination, not enjoying our own journey. You can take an example of two people driving a car. Like if you start racing, your aim will be like how we will reach faster than them, not that who is there in the car, what we were doing, listening to music, or how our journey was. We forget completely about that. So that becomes a tensed moment more than the happiness. So the first point is you should stop racing. So then enjoy your own journey. Whatever the journey may be and whatever way it is, we should enjoy each and every moment, so that we will, comparing with others, and whatever is meant for us or whatever way it is, we can have our own journey. Then the third point is remain stable in compliments and in criticism. I have given it as a pendulum effect. Like now, if somebody says something good about us or compliment us, I mean, we should not take it so much, it is they're talking about us. We should tell like that, they are nice people, so they're telling these things about me. So that is the same way we can take the negative comments, the criticism. Okay, they are telling something what they felt. We should not take it upon us. So if we will be, it is pendulum effect in this way. Like if you are oscillated, the pendulum oscillates towards the negative and positive, both the side. If we are affected by positive comments, we will be definitely affected by the negative comments. So we will try to keep it stable. So that we can do. And we can achieve happiness by being very close to nature, which is we can love nature, we can enjoy the music we want, and be active and learn. And so the fifth point is to learn some new skills and take up a new hobby. Always know the research says when you learn a new skill, there is a hormone gets secreted from the brain, and we feel a sense of happiness, a sense of achievement that we have learned a new skill and we have adopted a new hobby. So that every time we can challenge or push little bit towards in the positive way to achieve that, and in that way we will get happy. And spread happiness around, and starting with the family and friends. So that the previous point I said, no, that like if you are happy, you will keep your family, your surroundings, everything happy. So that will, if everyone is happy, that good vibration will happen. So everyone that will remain, the atmosphere will be happy. Above all, smile. And they say if you smile instantly, you start feeling happy. So there are few flip side to trying to be happier. I mean, I don't have answer. Probably Professor Chetri will have the answers. But as a psychological point of view, I have written down few flip side of happiness, trying to be happy. That is, no, a forced positivity can be toxic sometimes. I mean, if somebody dies somebody's house, you cannot tell them it's okay if people die like things. You should give them time to grieve, to get over through that. If you are forcing the toxic positivity, that means we are denying our emotions. And we cannot tell like always stay positive, only give the positive vibes. It could have been the worst if something happened, it could have been the worst. That means, no, if you tell stay positive, everybody is not capable of staying positive all the time. That means we are undermining their condition, their emotional condition. So, and happiness is a choice, is still a controversial subject for me. I mean, I said that initially, but that happiness, nobody wants to be sad anyway. But if given a choice, somebody can adopt it very easily to be happy, and they can switch on from sadness to happiness. Some cannot. What can be done in those cases? And sometimes you say failure is not an option, and you wait, you will get over it, and everything happens for a reason. Like those things, no, rejects a personal's from a psychological point of view. No, it means if you tell like this, people suddenly switch off. They think that we're not ready to listen to them, and things like that. And one more thing, some people say, if I can do it, then you can also do that. Everybody doesn't have the same skills. what I can do easily, probably the other person find it very difficult. So these are the flip sides. I think we can discuss the next slide. This is actually exclusively, yeah.
Minati, I request you to.
Yeah, I'll just wind up 2 minutes. Yeah.
In 1 or 2 minutes, please.
Yeah. So that this is actually, this slide is exclusively my personal slide, I can tell. I had written one article published in Times of India, Soul Curry, my article, A Steps Towards Inner Journey. So inward journey. So that one I had written after my husband met with a traumatic accident and he had some complex surgeries. In that time, how did we all, I mean, I and he both, we remained positive and did things. So that one actually I have written in that. So that I'll just read these things and tell one sentence about this. Get over yourself and accept the reality and the situation. In that is, in first I allowed myself to grieve for 1 or 2 days. Then I become stronger and took the decisions. So then I surround yourself with the family and friends for emotional support. That I did actually. Little bit weaker and crying and all, I kept away from them so that I don't become about your struggle. That actually, no, a lot of means it gives it. Once you share your worries, it reduces the worries actually. Then meditate and connect with something that is larger than life. That means I just did not concentrate on our problem. I just saw also other people's problem. I appreciated small things, what other in and around. Then evaluate the options available. So that is something about medical things. And listen to the spiritual role in my life to remain positive every day. I mean, every day we used to listen to shlokas and some soothing music. So these were then we thought positive. Then we always visualize the light at the end of the tunnel. So that was the thing. And these are some facts only I have gathered, like happiness chemicals and how to activate them. So I hope that everyone is able to see the screen. So these are the things actually I've written. There are 4 types of dopamine, oxytocin, then I am not able to see them. So
okay, Minati.
So these are the things actually I did. Thank you. This is what is my presentation about. So thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Minati. So, dear friends, we have had 2 presentations. Now, Rondi, you can also kindly make your presentation.
Yes.
And I would come at the end.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much, Dr. Chetri, for a thought-provoking presentation. And usually there is an approach in psychology called biopsychosocial approach. And you incorporated another dimension, that is biopsycho, a spiritual connotation. So thank you so much for your good presentation and excellent presentation. Being a teacher of sociology and social psychology, my focus on the psychological sense of happiness. For me, happiness is a social construct. Yet it is sometimes objected against such claim that life satisfaction cannot suffice for happiness, because other things like achievement, like knowledge, like wisdom, like morality, matter for human well-being. L.W. Sumner, identifies well-being with, he termed authentic happiness. Happiness that is authentic in the sense of being both informed and autonomous. Then we have some philosophical insights like Aristotle, Stonic accounts. There we can find a clear that happiness alone does not suffice with well-being, and that its significance is not what common opinion takes it to be, and that some kind of happiness can be worthless or even bad for that matter. So that is why, we can see that most philosophers regards happiness as secondary to morality in a good life. I think some disruption is there. Okay. Yes. Then we have, two differentiation in terms of visualizing happiness. We have Western conception, a kind of hedonism or a kind of utilitarianism oriented, that a kind of orientation that is to seek pleasure and avoid pain. We have another kind of interpretation of happiness given by Lord Buddha. On happiness, he recognizes that painful and unpleasant experiences are a natural part of our human condition, and which should be embraced rather than to avoid. So Buddha, show happiness and suffering as cyclical influence each other. Then we have, in modern sense, we have some kind of differentiation in terms of interpretation of happiness of so far as the perspective of Gandhi, Amrit Sen, John Rawls, insights is concerned. They visualize happiness, or in other words, happiness must be understood in context of justice. In this view, we do not have a right to be happy. Rather, justice demands only that each of us has sufficient opportunity in terms of capabilities, in terms of resources to achieve a good life, or that each gets a fair share on benefits of social cooperation. Well-being, we have if you see the topic, that is happiness, well-being, and Ananda. Well-being as a value fulfillment, how we can help each other to live well, right? So well-being has a more connotation on society than the self. Since we have limitation of time, although Dr. Chhatri has already highlighted some of the mantras of happiness, but I have also some understanding. So let me talk about some methods of happiness. If you see the human condition, particularly feeling or emotion like fear, frustration, anger, jealousness, all of those negative emotions, they are not going away. You need to give them a kind of space. And one technique that is used is meditation or sadhana, where you really try to recognize and accept those emotions. And you should recognize, you should investigate, you should accept. For that matter, you have to nurture yourself. That is, here we can bring Maslow's theory of self-actualization and self-realization. Another thing that is a kind of constraint of happiness is ideology, is a kind of judgmental self, conceptualized by Krishnamurti and Osho. Mindful people might be happier because they cultivate non-judgmental awareness of their thought, which allows them to better understand what they are. Even new psychological research, find this fact, and very clearly said, like, students who were more non-judgmental
about their thoughts, about their feeling, tended to report a particular clear sense of, self, who are less judgmental about their thoughts and feelings are happier because they have better idea of who they are. I was reading some social psychological interpretation of happiness. I found some research on Dutch and Finland, a country who are top on happiness index. They're with a strong culture of voluntarism, high standard of living. They cherish high standard of living in terms of action and rather unique business culture. So cultivation of an environment of emotional well-being throughout the personal self, that is the understanding that we can draw. Then we have to be little optimistic, little acceptable. Happiness is not about denying that you have problems. Even denial of a fasting soul is not productive. When troubles happen, we need to address them. When there is stress, we need to do something about it. So problem solving is a necessary part of being happiness. Even it is written in Bible that there is a time for joy and there is a time to mourn. But mourning is a short-term process, not a lifetime, right? So another thing that we can talk about here is happiness is as happy things. Your moods matter for that matter. Your attitude towards daily life events helps determine your mood. A famous social psychologist, James Allen, he said that you are today where your thoughts brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you. The right tools of positive thought are needed to do this job. So we have to have a kind of happiness toolkit. Another thing that is important to discuss, there is a social psychologist called Peterson and Seligman. They identified 6 virtues and 24 character strengths that happy people constantly reported the wider world over. They called these skills a signature strength. And much of happiness is associated with keeping a positive state of mind and connecting with others in loving relationship. Seligman says the definition of character strength is it contributes to fulfillment, it contributes to a strength of heart, that is gratitude, that is hope, that is love, are most robustly associated with life satisfaction than are more cerebral strengths such as curiosity or love of learning, right? So, in that sense, we have to, social psychologically, interpret happiness in context of society. If we try to understand, happiness in larger sense, better sense for that matter, and ultimately, the solution comes with your belief change. If your belief is dynamic, then you can determine more happiness. And little things mean a lot when you done with love, right? So this sort of thing, I have another thing to say, but since we have lack of time, so one thing that I want to say means if you are a happy person, then you have to have a kind of potential, and that potential is willing to change. Means the willing to change one's mind due to understanding of new fact is priceless. And that is a way, one of the significant way to achieve and actualize more happiness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Randeep. You are becoming a wise, wise traveler of word and knowledge, becoming a murid, peer and murid, becoming a guru. That's lovely here, Randeep. So, dear friends, co-present, we already have been enriched by Professor Chetri, Minati, and Randeep. And each one of them, they have come to us as a jewel, as a beautiful flower of thinking and quest. Though we have been with some time, I request your generosity to also join you in sharing some thoughts about this. Now, I will use the share screen option. I would like to begin this conversation, which I entitled Happiness, Well-being, and Ananda, New Visions and Pathways of Self-Development, Friendship with Others, Social Transformations, and Planetary Realizations. Beginning with this poem from Wordsworth, my heart leaps off when I behold a rainbow in the sky. So was it when my life began. So is it now I am a man. So be it when I grow old or let me die. The child is the father of man, and I could wish my days to be bound each to each by natural piety. So piety is a foundation of happiness. Then the next line is from Desmond Tutu, who is saying that the whole African conception of Ubuntu, what is Ubuntu? It means that I am happy, you are happy. I am well, if you are well. So happiness is linked to relationship, as Minati was saying, and that also draws inspiration from Ubuntu, this tradition of thinking from Africa. Then we come to Wittgenstein, the great philosopher, who is saying, the planet can suffer no greater torment than a single man. So if each one of us is in torment, then the whole planet is on fire. Therefore, each one of us have a duty to try to be kind to ourselves, overcoming our planet, kind to the other, and contributing to well-being of the planet. Rudolf Steiner, a great spiritual seeker, is also saying that how society will then become what young people as old human beings make out of the existing social condition. The new generation should not just be made to be what present society wants it to become. So therefore, a sense of adventure. Happiness is not just status quo. And then happiness and human development. We know that the whole happiness comes in a way critique of existing models of human development, like gross domestic product, we have it, gross national happiness. But what is the problem with existing thinking about development is that development is mainly considered in economic and political terms, and it constitutes a black box. According to Professor Fred Dallmeyer, it is an enlightenment black box, that is the whole enlightenment tradition in Europe. It cuts us away from nature and divine. But human development and human happiness must include human nature and divine. Human development, according to Amartya Sen, includes functioning. We need to function. But as we function, we can be attentive to the pathways of happiness as already cultivated by our three friends, and the capability. To capability, we become capable. To become one aspect of capability is creativity. And how we become creative and happy in such a way that our capability becomes a dance of creativity and happiness. Development as freedom, but freedom also is responsibility. Development is self-knowledge and mutual knowledge. In fact, happiness comes from authentic and a striving self-knowledge. Am I? Now, for example, to begin with that I have a definition, definition that I am a wife. But this is a given definition. I am a wife. At the same time, I am a sadhika, for example. Who am I? Who is my husband? Is only my husband? Or my husband is also a dance of striving for light, for example. So to have that sense, I give this story from Maitreyi and Yajnavalkya that Amartya Sen writes about in his book, Development as Freedom. You know that story, often talked about, that Yajnavalkya was leaving the house and Maitreyi asked him, Maitreyi gave him a lemonade, she had prepared a beautiful lemonade and gave and said, where are you going? I'm going in search of immortality. Then she asked, what I am going to do here? And Maitreyi remarks, and then she asked, I am going to milk the cow and get a lot of money, then would it make me immortal? Then Yajnavalkya was true. She said, no, like the life of rich people will be your life, but there is no hope of immortality by wealth. Maitreyi remarks, what should I do with that by which I do not become immortal? So what is the meaning of immortality? So to our conversation, I want to bring the discourse of happiness, not just to momentariness. Happiness is not just momentary. You give me a chocolate, I become happy. You smile, I become happy. When you put all your anger against me, then I cry. I think that, oh, Divine Mother, help me. So happiness goes through this.
Sir, you are muted. Kindly unmute yourself. Yes.
So with all these moments, how do we become, how to cultivate eternal, something beyond the momentary? So that idea of mortality and immortality. And here, Amartya Sen says that this whole quest for immortality, we would have to translate it also into visible terms. For example, child mortality. Now, because of lack of milk, for example, or lack of nutrition, now Professor Chetri was referring to Abhimanyu. Think of if Subhadra didn't have any food to eat, then what would the ability of Abhimanyu to listen to that wisdom would be very limited. So as much as we create conditions for life and flourishing of life, for example, giving milk to pregnant mothers, giving them beautiful food, dancing with them, these are small acts of creation of immortality. I have a poem where I write, how can we cultivate immortality? So happiness is linked to that movement of creation of immortality in a very small way. Like if somebody is very distressed, if I can be with her and help us for a moment, that moment is a creation of immortality. Mrityong mang amrutam gamaya. Mrityo mang amrutam gamaya is a day-to-day journey. It's a moment-to-moment journey. It is in that spirit, Sri Aurobindo also, in his thoughts and aphorism, Sri Aurobindo also says that there are very different kinds of immortality. So he writes there are lesser and larger eternities, for eternity is a term of the soul and can exist in time as well as exceedingly. And here we can also remember the journey of Savitri. through this discourse of happiness, we can read Sri Aurobindo's Savitri as a journey with happiness and immortality. We have already heard that how gross national happiness from Bhutan, Professor Chetri has already told us, it is not just happiness. It includes everything: psychological well-being, time use, community vitality, culture, health, education, living standard, and governance. For example, if the existing power structure is so killing, then it is very difficult to be happy. If the existing governance system is based upon destruction of human dignity, then it is not that easy to be happy. Of course, happiness is a choice. I always give an example. Now, if you go to England, you buy a train ticket from England, say London to Edinburgh, and you have already purchased the ticket, and the train is leaving at 6:10 p.m. or 6:10 a.m. Now, if you just miss that train, the whole money is gone. Now, compared to that, if Indian Railway, suppose you have a passenger train ticket, if you leave that train, you can at least board that train. I mean, this kind of, if you use time as a slave of money making, then no matter how much we do meditation with Thich Nhat Hanh, now our ability, our system would compromise in such a way. So therefore, social transformations I have spoken about, how do we transform existing arrangement? Then happiness, well-being, and Ananda. Now, happiness and well-being has a subjective dimension. I am happy with little things, yes. But I am happy with little knowledge, yes. But also that subjective dimension of happiness must be offered to other people, not in a judgmental way. Therefore, we can strive for greater and greater potential. So, I would like to bring the subjective dimension, objective dimension. For example, I can say that I can sleep without the mosquito net. Many people are saying, yes, it is good. You can do a mantra and sleep without mosquito net, but then it cannot go on for a long time. With the corona also, that we say that if our mind is strong, then corona would not touch us. It can go maybe 1 or 2 steps. But therefore, the subjective and the objective needs to be engaged simultaneously. Because many times our subjective consideration of well-being, because of the way we have been naturalized to think of a girl who has been told by her mother that you become happy by waking up at 4 o'clock and waking up before your husband wakes up and then preparing all the food. She has listened to that her whole life. Therefore, that subjective well-being, now is it, and the whole question of well-being and justice that Lanjit talked to. So happiness and Ananda, that Ananda takes us from a momentary sense of happiness to something deeper. And well-being also has a dimension of ill-being, because there are many ways in which, as Minati was saying, that there can be toxic positivity. Just to smile all the time can hide a lot of pain and suffering. So the pathology that is there, we have to be attentive to it. So moving on, let me say that happiness also is related to self-development and friendship with others. Self-development meaning that how do we create a process of niskama karma, detachment. Happiness is related to friendship with others. Friendship is very important for happiness. Happiness, we understand it in the context of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Now, liberty, equality, these two ways of the modern world also has to be related to happiness. Because in an unequal society, there are limits to be happy, and fraternity, the whole brotherhood and sisterhood. Gandhi, Sri Aurobindo, Ambedkar, and Pope Francis. Pope Francis has recently gifted very important encyclical called Fratelli Tutti on friendship and social fraternities, in which Pope is saying to care for the world in which we live means to care for ourselves. It's a big quotation. I'm not going into details. In the next paragraph, Pope is giving a very important example. He's saying that how Francis of Assisi, he walked all the way from Assisi in Italy to meet Sultan Malik al-Kamil in Egypt. That way to border cross, because there was a war going on, that is a very important step. Only when we can move from our home to the other, even our so-called enemy, it creates possibilities for happiness. Then friendship with others, beauty, dignity, and dialogues. Friendship with self and others. Friendship beyond the dualism of self and others. Friendship with self and inclusion of the other. I want to suggest that as much as we can include everybody in our life, then it becomes a process of generation of happiness. It is possible to include quite a lot, but that inclusion also can still be very paternalistic. I am including you. Therefore, I am bringing the part of friendship in together with inclusion of the other. For example, Habermas talks about, the great philosopher Habermas, he talks about inclusion of the other. In India also, social inclusion is a very important theoretical and policy goal. I think CIPRA is present in our seminar today, and our respected friend and teacher, Professor T.K. Umen from JNU, he also has been talking about inclusion, social inclusion. But to social inclusion, I am adding in a language of social embrace, because inclusion can be still very paternalistic. As Habermas says, that yes, his own idea of philosophy and ethics comes from Judeo-Christian tradition, and he does not have as much knowledge about other traditions, for example, Buddhist tradition or Islamic tradition. So there is a need for transformative border crossing for happiness as part of friendship and inclusion. Then we also need friendship with nature, that has been already pointed to. A cross species dignity. For example, in the context of climate change, thinkers like Donna Haraway, Bruno Latour, and Dipesh Chakrabarty, they are telling us about it. Happiness also calls for social transformation. For example, you look at our land system. Now, Ekta Parishad and Rajgopal Bhai and our friends, they are fighting for land dignity, Vinoba Bhave, Bhudan movement. If in a village there is land or at least some dignity of land for everybody, that village would be very happy. And here my friend, Johanna Smith from Denmark, he is saying that in Bhutan, there is a discourse of gross national happiness, but that does not include the question of land ownership. And slowly it is coming. So gross national happiness also must include issues like land, property, and power. We know Bhutan has become a democratic country, and it is slowly making steps towards democratic transformation, which we can welcome as a part of effort of happiness. Then Jeffrey Sachs, The Price of Civilization, the book I read, in fact, when I was in Bhutan in 2013. He's writing the unexamined life is not worth living, said Socrates. We might equally say that the unexamined economy is not capable of securing for wealth. For example, unexamined economy where we are emphasizing only on money, money, and money. Then we need mindful work. Then we also need new kind of institutions, as Berry is saying. I think it is coming here. And we need art of generating the impossible. And generating the impossible calls for a kind of gift relationship. So happiness and gifts. And gift is also, it is not just conditional gift, but unconditional gift. And here, from the Islamic tradition, my friend Adi Shataya from Malaysia, he's talking about Islamic gift economy. Then happiness is related to creativity. For example, this poem. Can you write a poem? Maybe that is good. You are a soul of possibility. Can you write a poem? This is not my field. I would tell my daughter or my husband. But can your creativity be substituted by another? Maybe not. I express my creativity in beauty and austerity. The beauty of austerity, austerity of beauty. I live with little. Do not discard the old. I live with joy. Bring joy to the streets and soul. I play colors with self and society. Holy with holiness and wholeness. Bindu and Brahmanda flow in my hair. Am I also not a bird of creativity? And given Professor Chhatri's point about sleeping and time use, I want to present also this poem very briefly. Time. Time is sleeping in the painted breast of the stones. Time is singing in the braided hair of the forest lake. Time is dancing in the soft lips of the waves. Time is waking up in moments of our embrace. In our time, it is our fate that we run with time. We dance and make time dance. But our friends come to the million breasts of love, nature, and history, where time is sleeping and snoring in yoga nidra. Oh friends, let us sleep with time. We press our head and hand, put oil in our tired bodies and souls. We breathe slowly. We put our hands across our hearts. Sleeping with time, we weave many quills. We cover us with quills. We make each other work. We weave many threads of connections, many new yoga. So happiness, well-being, and Ananda invites us for many kinds of yoga, critical, creative, and transformative. Thank you, dear friends, for our journey together. Now we'll nurture ourselves with thoughts, questions, and reflections. To initiate this, let me invite Gyan Luigi, please. Dear Gyan Luigi, you are our our friend, philosopher, and guide from Vienna.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was wonderful. Can you hear me? Because my internet connection was
Yes,
little bit disturbed, but it depends on me. No, thank you very much. Well, I thank you. Well, I would make perhaps a short observation. That is, I think that when we speak of needs of people, for instance, I heard before in the first wonderful exposition, I think this is completely right. But there is a problem perhaps to it because, well, some time ago, I dealt a little bit with the problem of water and of the right to water, which every individual should be assigned to, should be acknowledged to. And I noticed at that time in some books that there is a problem on the question of the term, the very term need, because sometimes this term, this word, is abused in order to substitute right. It is, for instance, in the question of water and of that access to public water, that is against the privatization of water, which has been fulfilled in some countries as United Kingdom over the last years. The concept of need was used in order to say, well, there is no right of the individual to have access to water. There is only a need. Therefore, since there is no right of the individual to have access to public water, it is a question of it is a problem of the individual to have access to water. It is the government, for instance, the government, the nation, the country has no duty. That is, there is a correlation, no right of the individual, therefore no duty of the government to at least strive to give access to the individual to water. This, I think, the problem of need is of the very word need is a very interesting problem and should be perhaps analyzed further. This is the first thing that I have to, because practically, if to the individuals are acknowledged only needs and no rights, well, then the question of the happiness is put in doubt. If I have no rights or less rights than I should have, I ought to have, I should to have acknowledged, then I have minor opportunities to reach happiness. That of the water is an example, is of course a very important example, but it's not the only one. The second one, the second observation I would like to do is this one. I think about Amartya Sen, that Sen has said something in a certain sense, not so much polemical, but critical of the very concept of happiness in relation to the use which utilitarians do of it. Therefore, for instance, Sen has written beyond utilitarianism, because he says that, in my opinion, it is interesting to this observation of Sen, that happiness is not so easy to measure. That is, you can be happy also if you have nothing. You can be happy also if you have no rights. That is, happiness is a criterion of measure to the, of course, to the conditions of the people or individual, which is not so much reliable. That is at least the impression that I have reading Sen. And I think perhaps also under the influence of Mabubulak, the late Mabubulak, we prefer always to speak all of development, that is, of the opportunities, of the chances, as regards, of course, development, as regards the possibilities which one has, rather than to speak of the happiness. This is a question which, in my opinion, deserves being analyzed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Gyan Luigi. We have with us many new friends also. I see Urmimala Das. So Urmimala Appa, and I also see Santosh Kumar Bishwar. So Urmimala Appa, Santosh, Saji, and also Sangeeta Appa, Tuli Didi. These four friends, 1 or 2 minutes each, please.
Good evening, everyone. It is a beautiful session. I have learned so many things from this chapter, this session. Really, happiness is a need of the hour. And as Corona has it has demoralized many people. It has broken the root of the happiness, but still then this session has given us a very fine and very minute way of living happily in this pandemic situation. Thank you, Anta bhai. Many, many thanks.
Namaskar. Namaskar,
yes.
Ananda
Namaskar.
bhai, and to all. Yeah, I'm Urmi. Actually, I am I don't know whether it is spiritual or what in that journey. And when I found this topic, it is really, really attracted me to listen you all, and I have learned many things from Professor Chetri up to I don't remember the third person who presented, and yours also. Very different type of understanding the concept of happiness, perceiving, and it is really very good, and I have learned, and I will try to imbibe many things, starting from inhaling processes up to positive thinking, and also this social construct and development of.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
So good evening, everyone. It's a very wonderful session. I'm really sorry that I joined very late. And I think what one of the participants said, that happiness is the need of the hour. And yes, we are in the very gloomy and very troubled times. I think the session of this kind will be really instrumental, to muster our courage and to give much of happiness to all of us. And thanks for the invitation. I wish you all the best for the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Santosh Babu. So, Saji, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Ananta. I have some doubts with regards to the wonderful presentation. First of all, I appreciate all the speakers. And my small concern I have put in the chat. I would, since you are giving me an opportunity to raise these issues, I'm no one in front of the learned scholars and also the Bhante who presented wonderfully, compiling the social, political, moral, and also psychological aspects of happiness. And the doubt that I have in my mind with regards to the points that had been raised by Professor Chetri is this. There are just two. One is, unlike in Vedanta and also of the later part of the Holy Bible, where Paul makes a mention of grace of God, and also the bhakti aspect, which is there in Ramanuja's Vishishtadvaita Vedanta. Even though ecological aspects and also the universal aspects that had been emphasized, both physical and non-physical, yet a theistic element I felt is missing in the presentation of Professor Chetri. Maybe I missed it. This is what I felt is wanting. I'm no one, sorry, forgive me for pointing it out, but I would like to know where the spiritual elements lies. If it is only in a universalistic approach or an integrative approach of the ecological and the non-ecological, that is where the spiritual elements, but once he seemed to have mentioned a compromise, a definition that he had of happiness. He seems to have put spiritual principles, but elsewhere, the chanting of the mantras to the divine, that was missing from the presentation. Now, it is not proper on my part to ask a monk what is the importance of the divinity, but I'm only raising this concern because none of those practical lessons which he had given, where a prayer was mentioned, even though at the end there was a prayer that he read out, but the practical lessons which were given, the bodily organs, he's asking the bodily organs and also the other parts, even including the physical aspects, to also be recognized and its attributes to be highlighted. But a prayer to the divine surprisingly was missing. This is one. And the second is, I'm very sure that Professor Chetri belongs to Buddhistic tradition. Now, one concern that I had with regards to the Madhyamika school of the middle path. Now, the contemporary life, the contemporary world, the contemporary living, which calls for patience, moksha, which asks for also compassion and pity to be shown to the other. Would middle path suffice here? Would it not actually ask for even the pandemic situation that faced? If somebody were to stick to middle path, would it take us out from this crisis that we have faced? So an empathy in its extremity, does it not require its exposition from the individuals at the moment? This is another. Professor Ananto, as usual, every lecture that we listen to from you is always inspiring, and thank you for this inspiration that you have brought even in evening's lecture today. You brought in Professor Sen, and I don't think you made a mention of Nasubam. Both of them seem to have touched upon capabilities. So justice seems to be linked to happiness, because unless and until if justice is not provided in terms of also materiality, how can the larger section of the society be happy? So justice is linked to happiness. Somewhere you seem to have mentioned the subjective and the objective. What should be the meeting ground between these two? Professor Ananta, inclusive aspect that you brought in, it made me happy, and Habermas that you have referred to, thank you very much. This is only a comment, but I would like to know about that meeting aspect. And you would always refer to the transformative. This is a unique feature of your lectures. Transformative justice, transformative peace. Do you see that even in happiness? A transformational part in happiness. Does your concept of transformative, does it also apply to this state of mind which we call as happiness? Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Saji. Thank you. Now we are slowly being embraced by time. I request 3 friends to get ready: Naomi, Sandhyapa, and Prabhatyapa. So Naomi, please. Naomi.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very grateful to have attended this session. I thank Mina for the invitation. It was definitely a necessary topic to have, especially with the challenges the world is facing. But like Saji said, I think the spiritual aspect was lacking. Allow me to say I'm a Christian, born again Christian. And the way I define it is that God is love. And when it comes to people's happiness, what they're constantly looking for is love. And even when you hear them describe what they love, someone will tell you, I love Chevra. And it's a bit distorted to describe Chevra in the volume of love. But the human mind is always looking for evidence of that thing that you love that makes you happy. So when it comes to happiness, I think we address the things that give us happiness, but probably to have an all-rounded conversation, it was important to perhaps highlight things that drain your happiness and how you can recover from it. I think many address something on trauma they faced as a family, and these are people I know, so I concur with her conversation. But probably, and especially in the middle of pandemic, we should have looked at the struggle in finding happiness, because happiness can be elusive depending on the stage of life you are in. I think I have a lot more to say, but I'm going to yield the floor so that we can hear from the others. But that is not to discount the fact that the session was highly informative, captivating, and educational. I yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. What do you do, Naomi? If you please put up your video, we can see you for a moment.
Thank you. My name is Naomi. I'm a business lady in Kenya. Sorry, I did not put up my video initially. I was having problems, and because I woke up late, I've had a very hectic week, so I ended up sleeping longer. In fact, if it wasn't for the session, I'd have probably spent the entire day in bed because I have a hectic week ahead. But I'm going to join this next time. I'm still in my pajama and gown. That's why even after we were able to sort out the video issue, I was not able to connect. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. We welcome you to our journey. Now, Sandhya Appa, please.
Sandhya Appa, are you there?
Sandhya Appa, you unmute yourself. Okay, please speak.
She has unmuted, but the sound is not coming.
Okay, this sound is not coming.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll listen to her a little later. Now, Prabhati Appa, please.
Prabhati Appa, she has just joined. Would you like to share your thought, Prabhati Appa?
Okay, so in that case, they are taking time. So now, Professor Chetri, we request you to kindly share your thoughts on the reflections in 2 to 3 minutes, please. We are grateful to you, Professor Chetri.
Perhaps Chetri sir has left. He dropped a message. He had a meeting.
Okay. So now, Devendra, please.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity. I have some observations from the points highlighted by Chetri sir. Overall, the presentation was mesmerizing and very informative and well presented. So a few things I noted down, and the first, while sir was talking about happiness, the kind of things one should do in order to maintain happiness. And in that order, sir mentioned so many things. And one point it's there I have noted down, that is money cannot buy happiness. Of course, money cannot buy happiness. And to elaborate a little, I'll not take more than 2-3 minutes. So money cannot buy happiness. On the same theme, the famous Indian novelist Mulk Raj Anand has written a story, The Lost Child. The Lost Child is complete depiction of money cannot buy happiness. In the story, one child with his parents, though parents are not rich in terms of money, that child is accompanied by them to a fair, and that child is attracted towards all the sweet stalls, toys, and everything which was displayed for selling. So he was very happy for those materialistic things. But all of a sudden, as the crowd increased, that boy separated from his parents, and definitely it was a kind of uh, great misery for parents as well as child. Although parents were searching at their end and child was also trying to find them, but as the child was small, he was crying. So one gentleman picked that child and he took it in his lap, and that gentleman was rich enough to purchase everything. So that gentleman was offering that child anything and everything, the most costly thing which was there to be purchased by those who are attending that fair. But that child, this time when he had an option to get anything and everything, this time that child was crying for his parents. No, I don't want costly toys. I don't want sweet dishes. I want my mom. I want my dad. So taking an inspiration from that episode of the story, and for today's webinar only, I composed a poem. So I would like to recite that poem, and that will be the end of from my side. Happiness is the title of my poem, and it begins usually like, here it begins. What is happiness? Like the taste of sweet, it cannot be defined. Rather, it can be realized. When a beggar gets food, when a farmer is successful in his deed, they feel very good, and it is happiness for them indeed. Someone feels happy in donating the man in need, while others are happy in serving the poor without any greed. Nothing can please a child more than his parents. All the toys and luxuries are useless in their absence. Winning makes happy both politicians and players. They play their games with utmost care, but few believe in everything is fair in love and war. That is the chief cause of all corruptions in society at par, which later becomes the source of all fear, and man is left to suffer on his fate full of despair. Now, man should not forget the fundamental law of nature. One's happiness can be the cause of sadness for others. Thus, embrace and console the sad without any reservation. You will get many happy occasions for celebration. But your gesture of showing humanity on sad man is better than service of God or devotee ever can. So thank you very much for giving me the time, sir.
I think we are slowly with the
Yes.
path of time to be able to greet
So
each
any
other
other
and
friends who'd like to share his thought? You are welcome. So Devendra sir, over to you.
Thank
to
you.
share vote of thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, first of all, I thank everybody, every participant, every distinguished speaker and co-learners. And now to begin with formal vote of thanks. It's my honor and privilege to extend this vote of thanks on behalf of School of Humanities, Raffles University, and Raise Global Foundation, as well as Vishwanidham Center for Asian Blossoming, Puducherry and Chennai, to extend a vote of thanks. And first of all, I would express my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to Dr. Samdu Chetri sir for his brilliant presentation and teaching us the lesson to be happy. Second, I would like to express my thanks to Minati Pradhanji for her brilliant presentation and very effective as well as full of informative it was. So ma'am, thanks a lot for your presentation. I would like to express my thanks to Professor Anand Girishar for his presentation as well as guiding us and inspiring us to conduct such kind of activities. I would also like to thank revered Dr. Justice Meena Vigombar, who is patron of Raffles University, for giving us freedom to organize such kind of activities. I express my thanks to Professor Divakar Goli, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Raffles University, for his cooperation and a kind of inspiration he gives us for organizing such kind of events. I would like to thank Mr. Gyan Luigi for the kind of dialogue he came out with to make this session a lively session. My thanks goes to Professor Saji Varghese sir for his very critical appreciation of the whole session, and definitely it was commendable. Everybody, all the participants, all co-learners, everyone, all the guests are definitely means I'm giving my thanks to everybody. Last but not the least, I would like to convey my gratitude to Professor Randhir Gautam for planning, executing, and conducting this session successfully. So thank you everybody from bottom of my heart. Namaste.
Thank you, Devendra. Randhir.
Welcome, sir.
I just remember that Saji had asked.
Oh, yes, yes.
If we do not be with Saji in his questions, then the gods would not smile on us. It is in that spirit. The very important question, like the subjective and the objective coming together in happiness. As Gyan was saying, that most of the time, our subjective assumption of happiness hides a lot of things. So therefore, the objective and the subjective have to come together in many ways. And the objective not killing the subjective is not too much bound within itself, that even if one is bitten, then one would say that, oh, I am not bitten, it is just a slap of love. All these things, what is the objective criteria? All these things. For example, speaking of Quran, not only Holy Quran, but there are some people among our Muslim brothers who justify beating the women, still justify. And there was a public conversation about it, and one great preacher said, yes, you have to beat it, but maybe you do it in such a way that as if you are putting a handkerchief. So therefore the subjective and the objective. Now with the Taliban, one Taliban spokesperson, when he was asked that why there is no women cabinet, and he said that, okay, so their place is not in the cabinet, then they would have to give birth to children and raise and all these things. The second thing is about transformation, because happiness again can be too much within itself. Therefore, the transformative dimension and a sense of adventure. Yes, we know that we would have to be content, but we also have to jump to a sense of discontent. And therefore, like the divine discontent. Our Chitta from Odisha used to say that you always must be discontent. And that discontent is not grumbling, it is a divine discontent. Divya Asantosha. What is that divine discontent? That divine discontent is not satisfied with whatever potential we have realized so far. So that is transformation. And one part of that transformation is happiness and Ananda. So how do we cultivate Ananda with the seeds of happiness? So thank you, dear friends. I think Minati would like to say a closing
Yeah, I
thought.
will. My question remain unanswered. I mean, I wanted to ask how to get over the toxic positivity. You know, like if you see the psychological point of view and I mean, whatever Petri was presenting, there should be some balance. I mean, you cannot remain sad for longer time, but there should be some way how to switch from negativity to positivity. Those things I wanted to listen from him, but he has left.
Okay. So
And thank you for your kind words.
we'll pursue that.
I could not hear the, yeah.
So we'll pursue these thoughts, but again, that the way out of forcedness is to be with the moment.
Yeah.
Now, if I am in a moment of anger, not to deny that moment, what is the source of that anger? So therefore, just putting a sugar-coated smile, it's not helpful. You have to touch that moments of anger. And then, but we also have to be point not to be bound to that. So
yes,
yeah.
I have one thing to share that that's a very important question. There are certain ways of thinking that keep you caught in the entitlement of anger, and these entitlement beliefs chokes all kind of relationship. So check and see which errors of thinking you hold that create problem of yourself and problems of others. So that thing comes with awareness or realization.
Yes.
Yes. So with these words, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All.
And
Thank
as
you.
you go, so we have to stand up. All of you stand up, please.
Yes.
So we can do a little kirtan.
Yes.
But I cannot see the screen. Yeah.
Oh. Om.
Little louder, Ananda bhai, not audible.
Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi. Please join me, all of you.
Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi
Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame.
Satyamayi Parame.
Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. And we give each other a hug.
Hug. Yes. So Satchitananda.
Because of the corona, it is all missing. When we had seminars and all, we used to.
Thank you.
And
thank
let
you,
us
Naomi,
get
for
ready.
joining.
And I just want to say, let us get ready for next week. Next Sunday, we'll have Christian with us on Gandhi and fascism.
Gandhi
Not such
and
a happy
fascism.
topic, but-
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.